A vertical zone run offense is a weapon. Agile linemen stretching the front, elusive backs pressing a line and exploding through cutback lanes. And the moment the defense starts flowing too hard, we hit them with downfield shots off play action that rip the top off the coverage. But this machine only works if every piece is built with intention. And today, inside this Madden 26 Masterclass Guide, I'm giving you the complete blueprint to build a dominant vertical zone run offense from the ground up. You're watching the Madden 26 Masterclass Guides, the series built for franchise players who want structure, realism, and a system that wins in CPU versus CPU simulation. If you're ready to build an offense that actually plays like a vertical zone run scheme, you're in the right place. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and let's get going. So just like in the previous guides, we don't really start until the preseason's over. You can sim through weeks 1, 2, and 3, do whatever you want to do there, cut your roster down to your final 53, and then once you advance to week 1 of the regular season, this is where our process begins. So obviously the very first thing we do in week 1 is choose our draft class. And for this master class, we always stick with auto-generated rookies. I don't like doing custom classes, so we're always going to just keep auto-generated rookies. We want a clean, untouched ecosystem where every prospect is built by Madden's engine. No custom classes, no imported classes, no outside influence. That gives us the most consistent scouting results and the most reliable CPU versus CPU simulation outcomes. And now, once you've got that draft class loaded, we're not going to touch the scouting yet. Before we look at a single attribute or physical, we need to write down the positions that actually matter for a true vertical zone run offense. So just like the previous guides, we only write down positions that define the scheme. So here's the full list that you'll need for a vertical zone run scheme. Just like in our previous guides, we only write down the positions that define the scheme. So here's the full list that you need for vertical zone run. QB 1 and 2, halfback 1 and 2, fullback 1, wide receivers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, tight ends 1, 2, and 3, and then for offensive line, you need left tackle 1, left guard 1, center 1, right guard 1, and right tackle 1. And then you need O-line 6, which will be your swing tackle, O-line 7, which would be an interior backup, O-line 8, which would be a depth piece, and then O-line 9, so OL9, would be essentially someone that's on your roster or you're going to put on a practice squad. These are the only offensive positions that really matter in a vertical zone run system. Every player you scout, every free agent you sign, every draft pick you make, they all have to fit into one of these exact roles. This list becomes the backbone of your entire offensive blueprint. And so once you've got it all jotted down, it should look something like this. So you've got all the positions there. So now that that's done, we can go ahead and set. And now once you have that, we can progress to the next step. For the next step, you're going to go to GM's office and go to team salaries. And just like in all the previous guides, we're only doing one scheme here, so we're only going to care about one thing. Who is already signed for next season? Anyone not under contract next year is treated as an empty slot unless we deliberately choose to re-sign them. So you go position by position. So McCarthy is signed. Brosmer is signed. So they'll both go down as QB1, QB2. Halfback, you've got Mason and Jones are signed. Chandler and Scott is not. So Mason and Jones will go down as halfback 1 and halfback 2. You'd throw down their names along with their ages and their overalls. And you would do that for every single position until once you're done, you have something that looks like this. So as you can see, for the Vikings, we actually don't have many empty spots. So it seems at first that we don't have many scouting needs. However, how you really want to do it is you want to set up a priority list. So obviously if you have multiple empty spots, they would be your scouting priorities. But if you have a scenario like this, it's slightly different, but it's still the same. So obviously our top priority is going to be a wide receiver because we need a wide receiver 3. With the salary cap situation, re-signing Naylor is going to be rough. And at the end of the day, we know we're going to have to trade some pieces, cut some pieces regardless. So you kind of keep that in mind. So how I do it in that type of situation still ties into how we do it in any other situation, whether you have open spots or not. So you do your open spots first as your priorities. So for us, that's wide receiver. Fullback, I don't ever put as a priority in a draft because you can always pick one up from free agency. Okay, So the next thing I would do is look by ages, injury history that you see in Madden, and things of that nature. So for us, I'm sitting here and I'm looking down like, okay, you know, QB 1 and 2 are both young. You know, the developmental. McCarthy's on a rookie contract. I'm not looking to replace a QB right now. Halfbacks, Mason and Jones are both getting up there in age. You know, Jones is already in the regression years. Mason's entering the regression years. And they're both pretty much out of developmental time. So they're at the highest that they're going to be at. So I'm going to write down halfback as one of my priority needs. Then you move down to tight ends. Same thing. Bartholomew is pretty low. He's got a long developmental window, but he's quite a ways away, and he's nowhere near ready to be a tight end 1. Hawkinson and Oliver, we know they're both at that regression stage. They're the highest that they're going to be. So we know tight end is going to be a need of ours because, one, if we can get a good one, that opens up trade pieces, and it opens up cuts, opens up salary cap. But at the same time, it's something that we need to look at replacing. You move to the O-line, Darasol, still really good at what he does. Even though he is injury prone, he's not so much so in Madden. So keep that in mind. You're going based off of what Madden is, not real life. So in Madden, Darasol's phenomenal, so he's good. So then we go to left guard 1. He's young, he's good. We're not worried about it. Kelly does have injury history on Madden as well. And with the fact that he's already 32, I may be looking to replace him. So I'm going to jot down interior O-line for center. Right guard, same thing. Fries is entering regression years. That's the highest he's going to be. That's not quite starter caliber. I want all of my starters, even though overalls don't really matter, they need to be 80 or higher. So, and that's because if you have the right attributes in the right places, they will naturally be an 80 or higher when they're progressing. So that's kind of why I say the overall portion on that part. And then right tackle, O'Neal, he's in his regression years, but he's still an 87. So he's not a key priority for this year. And then obviously depth is always a concern. So now that I've gone through that, you make your priority list and it should look something like this. So as you can see, my priority list is wide receiver, tight end, center, halfback, interior O-line in general, and then offensive tackles in general. My secondary priorities, for me, I've already got listed as a priority. So my secondary list for this one will just be best player available. When you get to that situation, that's great. If not, if you have multiple open spots, obviously they would be your priorities. So you never really want more than 5 or 6 priorities. And then after that, you file the oldest players, people that don't have developmental window stuff like that in your secondary. If you get to this type of situation, then obviously I don't have much, so it's just best player available when we're going through. So, and that's why you still scout every position regardless. So now that we have that done, we can go on to the next step. The next step involves us actually going into our scouting board. So now that we actually know who we're going to scout, we're going to go in to scouts and fire all of our scouts. Okay, we don't need anyone that they've provided because we're doing our own system. Now keep in mind, you do not need to spend coaching ability points or anything like that on extra 2 stars or extra 3-star scouts. There's no reason for it. It's useless. You get enough information unlocked. Use the points smartly. Don't waste them. The 1-stars, the 2-star, and the 3-star you have give you more than enough with what I'm going to give you in order to properly scout and draft and not have to waste those precious points that you get when you can upgrade other things such as your play sheets and extra abilities and stuff like that. So when we're going in, let's go to prospects. So now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go position by position, region by region, and count out rounds 1 through 4. And then you're going to jot them down. So for instance, for national, QBs, we've got 2, 4, 6. In the West, we've got 1. Central, we've got 2. Northeast, we have 3. Southeast, we have 0. Then we go to the next position, do the same thing. Halfbacks, we've got 2, 4, 6, we've got 7. In the West, we have 2. In the Central, we have 3. In the Northeast, we have 1. In the Southeast, we have 1. And you keep doing that for every single position. Now, when you get to tackles, you're going to include left tackle with right tackle. Okay, so make sure. So on national, you're going to have 2 for the right tackle, plus your 2, 4, 6 for the left tackle for a total of 8 on the tackles for national. So in the West, you have 0 left tackles. You would have 1. In the Central, you would have 1. In the Northeast, that's 3. You'd have 3. In the Southeast, you'd have 1 plus 2, so you'd have a total of 3. Now on the offensive line, you do the same thing for the interior. Instead of doing center, right guard, left guard, you just put IOL for interior O-line, and then you would add together the left guards, the centers, and the right guards and do the same thing. And then once you have all of that done, you should have a sheet that looks something like this. So as you can see, we've got 13 in the National, 3 in the West, 4 in the Central, 3 in the Northeast, and 3 in the Southeast for wide receivers, and so on and so forth for all of the positions that are on our priority list. So once you have this done, then you want to go through and you want to figure out what position you're going to scout in each region. So obviously you want to do the one with the most. So in the Southeast, for instance, we're going to do tight end because it has 4. In the Northeast, you have multiple, so we're going to skip that temporarily. So we're going to skip over to West because it's got a clear-cut winner. We see wide receivers with 3. So we know we're going to do wide receivers in the West. Now we're going to go to Central because it's out of 2. You've got wide receivers and tight ends. So we already have 4 tight ends. And tight ends are somewhat easier to scout than wide receivers. And because of the fact that we need a wide receiver 3 that could possibly be a 2 since we need to cut space, I do want to look into that, especially with the fact that, you know, wide receivers, there's so many positions, so I want to overdo for wide receivers than I would for tight ends. So we're actually going to do wide receivers in the Central as well. So you're going to have wide receivers in the West and the Central, and then you're going to have tight ends in the Southeast. So that leaves the Northeast. So we're not going to do wide receivers again. Tight ends has the low one. Halfbacks have a low one. So then we go to interior O-line and offensive tackles. So there's only 4 interior offensive linemen in the entire class that's in 1 through 4. 3 of them are in the Northeast. Offensive tackles also have 3, but the reason I'm going to go with interior offensive line is when I look at those 3, and I can show you this real quick. For instance, when you go to the Northeast, 2 of the 3 are rounds 3 to 4. We know we're not going to be drafting an interior offensive lineman in the first 1 or 2 picks or in the first or second round. So it works the best for me to scout them rather than the tackles. So that's why we're going to go ahead and do them in the Northeast. So then once you've got that all figured out, you need to figure out where you're going to put your scouts. So whatever region has the most prospects as your biggest need gets the 3-star scout. So even though wide receiver would technically be our biggest need since we need a wide receiver 3, with the fact of how our salary cap and everything is, and the ages and all that, our biggest need is actually going to be tight end, because we have Jefferson and Addison locked in as wide receivers 1 and 2. So we don't really have a huge need for wide receiver. We need a good 3, but we're going to need a new tight end 1 before we need a wide receiver 1 or 2. So I'm going to make tight end in the Southeast is going to be our 3-star scout. Our 2-star scout always goes to national. You never want to use 2 stars you never want to use 2 stars anywhere else, and you never want to use a 3-star in national. You get enough information unlocked with the 2-star. And then obviously the rest is going to be 1 stars. So once you've got that all figured out, you should have something that looks like this. So as you can see, we've got West and Central are going to have 1 stars for wide receiver. The Southeast will have a 3-star for tight end. National will have a 2-star for halfbacks. Northeast will have a 1-star for interior O-line, and then offensive tackles is going to become our secondary focus, as well as our focus players if they're on our board. Like I said, attributes fix a lot of this, but that's going to be kind of our secondary help. The reason I did halfbacks at national is because we need a halfback, and with the fact that there's only 7 of them in the entire in all the regions, it's best to get all the information we can from them there, and then leave the offensive tackles, because they're also not going to be a top 1 or 2 pick. Halfback could be very well our second pick, or our first if there's a stud. We're probably going to do halfback or tight end with our first round, and probably the other with our second round. So you want to judge like that and make sure that you're hitting your actual needs most importantly. So once that's done and all your scouts are situated, now you go ahead and hire them in. So now you go 2 scouts, free agents, and then let's start off. So we need 1-star wide receivers, and we need 2 of them. So we're going to look and see what their secondary expertise is. So when you're doing both offense and defense, this is where you utilize it to maximize it. So like if cornerbacks is another need of yours, you're going to choose wide receiver with a corner as a secondary expertise because you still get some things unlocked as the secondary expertise. So that's the key thing. For us, we're only doing offense right now. And the only things that really matter for us is QB. I mean, it would be nice to look to maybe get a better second string QB than what we have. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll just do QB for both of the 1-stars as the secondary. So now we've got our wide receivers. Next is a 3-star for the Southeast. We need a tight end. So we're going to go down to tight end, see what 3 stars they have available. They only have 1, so that's our option there. Next, we have our 2-star, which is going to be a halfback, which will actually be, I believe, under running back here. And let's see, we've got a couple options. Oh, there we go. So offensive tackle is 1. Mike is 1. So like we said before, offensive tackle is a focus thing because they do show up a lot as secondary expertises. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for our 2-star for the National. Now we need to go to the Northeast and get our 1-star for the interior O-line. So now we're going to go ahead and go down to interior O-line. And again, we're looking for offensive tackle. Perfect. Boom. We've got that. And now that's all 5 of our scouts. So now we can go ahead and set them up where they go. So again, that's our National. Wide receiver is going to be West and Central. So there's West. There's Central. Tight end is the Southeast. Whoop. And then obviously the interior outline was the Northeast. So now that that's done, that's all we have to do for right now. So now you can play your games, do your stuff, do everything you need to do, because there's nothing else to do until we get to week 3. All right, and I went in and just sim through. So now that we're in week 3, this is where we have to set our focus position for the regional positions. So this is where we tell each scout that you're going to focus on, you know, whether it's QBs, wide receivers, offensive line, or whatever. So you're going to go into regional focus scouting, choose regional scouting focus, and it's not going to be national. It's going to be your West, Central, Northeast, and Southeast. So obviously in the West, we're doing wide receivers. Central, we're doing wide receivers. Northeast, we're doing interior O-line. And then the Southeast, we're doing tight ends. And now once you have that set, that's everything you need to do. So now just slow sim your games, enjoy, watch, do whatever you're going to do. And then you don't touch anything else until you get to week 8. All right. And then once you get to week 8, this is where you do your scouting for the national focus position. So again, you're just going to go to scouting national focus, choose national focus position, set voting scouting focus, if I can talk today. And then obviously for us, we're doing running backs. So now that that's set, we have all that done. And then once again, there's nothing else that you do until you get to week 13. And now that we're at week 13, we can start what you've all come here for, how to properly scout all the players. So as always, we're going to go in and go position by position and bring them all in. So I'll highlight all of them for now. And then just like before, we have set attributes and everything on what we're going to go through. So for QBs, for instance, here's what we're going over. So for QBs, the important physicals is throw power, acceleration, agility, and speed. So throw power determines how far and how fast the ball travels on deep action and play action shots. Acceleration is going to more so controls how quickly the QB escapes play action animations and then sets his feet. Whereas agility impacts how smooth the QB transitions from like a play action fake into his drop back and then to throw. And then speed obviously helps the QB to avoid sacks on long developing play action plays. The core attributes that matter is deep accuracy, medium accuracy, short accuracy, throw under pressure, play action, and awareness. So remember, as the quarterback, they're the deep ball engine of the scheme. So For deep accuracy, that's what matters on deep crossers, posts, and fades, and that's the core of this scheme. So it's the most important core attribute you can look for a quarterback. Medium accuracy affects deep digs, deep outs, intermediate play action shots, and stuff like that. Whereas short accuracy is more so your quick RPOs and check downs when the play action, intermediate routes, stuff like that are covered. Throwing under pressure, kind of prevents underthrows when pressured during those play action type setups. And then obviously play action itself boosts play action success. It makes defenders bite harder so that you'll likely have somebody open. And then awareness obviously reduces bad decisions in CPU versus CPU. And so these are the ones we're looking for. So they did something a little bit different because I had some people ask. So if you're looking for late round depth players, or you're having a hard time because it's a poor draft class that year, you can safely drop one letter grade in secondary physicals, secondary attributes, and non-critical archetype traits. But you cannot drop a grade in primary physicals and primary scheme traits that affect the core identity of the scheme. So looking at quarterback, and that's where these stars are. So like agility, speed, we can drop both of those from decent down to, marginal or whatever's below it. Medium accuracy, short accuracy, and awareness, you want Bs, but we can still drop those to C. However, the catch on this is if you do that, you need to have at least one physical and then 2 key core attributes need to be elite grades to guarantee they're not a bust. Now, you can do it without that, but it's not guaranteed. There is a chance it could be a bust or not develop the way you need, or be slightly, more of a power back than elusive back, things like that. So it's not like a game breaker, but it's not what you're really looking for. So if you do need more players, more prospects to look at, you can do that, but make sure you're only doing it on ones that I've put a star next to. Or if I haven't put a star in there, I'll go over it when we're going through the video, because I'm just trying to get this out as quick as possible for you guys, because a lot of people have been asking for this specific guide. So anyways, now that we're doing this, so as always, we're going to go. So we've got all this done. So the first thing we want to look for is throw power. So we're going to go to physicals. We're going over to throw power, and anybody that is not great or higher is eliminated. So that right now removes a lot of these guys, and I know you guys can't really see it, but I left that up so you guys can have it for notes or whatever you need. So now that we've got throw power done, we're down to these 5 QBs. Next is acceleration. We want at least good acceleration. So he's gone, he's gone, he's gone, and he's gone. So now we're down to 1. So for this QB, the next thing we're looking for is agility or speed. Agility, it's good where it needs to be. Speed is where it needs to be. So now we can move to core attributes. So then we move over to the attributes. Most important is deep accuracy. That needs to be an A. You can, in rare circumstances, a B could suffice. However, I highly suggest that if you don't have an A in deep accuracy, do not draft the player, especially if it's a starter. Now, if it's a backup, again, I would still say I would suggest an A. It's okay for medium and short accuracy to be lower, but deep accuracy is the main engine of the scheme. So if you don't have deep accuracy, you don't have a scheme. So that's kind of where we're at on there. So that it's temporary for now, because it's not uncovered. Next is medium accuracy. We need a B. He has a C. Now that is one we can drop one, so I'll leave him on the board for now. Short accuracy is a B. We have an A. Next is throw under pressure. You need a B. Throw under pressure is uncovered. Play action, you need a B. So let's go over to play action. It's not uncovered yet. And then awareness, you want to be. Awareness, you can drop to a C as well, so we'll temporarily leave him on as well. And I do have listed up there red flags. Again, even though some of them we are dropped, like short accuracy, medium accuracy, we can drop to a C, that is a red flag when it comes to a quality key starter, not for depth. The red flags are specifically for starters, your main 11 that are running the scheme. So just keep that in mind. So now that we're done with QBs, let's go ahead and jump to halfbacks. Now for halfbacks, this is your cutback artist that makes the scheme go. So Acceleration is important because it determines how fast the halfbacks hit the hole after pressing the line. Agility is important as it controls how tight the halfback can bend wide zone runs. Change of direction is how sharp the halfback can cut back against the flow. Speed determines breakaway potential once he hits that daylight, and then jumping helps in traffic when hurdling or avoiding low tackles. For core attributes, you worried about juke moves because that's a primary move for creating space in the second level. Ball carrier vision, which determines how well the halfback reads cutback lanes. Spin move, because that's a secondary move for an agile back for breaking angles and stuff like that. Carrying obviously reduces fumbles, especially on play action heavy drives. And then break tackle, because it helps break arm tackles on zone runs, which is what you need. So again, on those, you got jumping, spin move, carry, and break tackle can drop a grade if need be. But let's go ahead and start looking through these. So we're going to start off with physical. The first thing we're looking for is elite acceleration. So we're going to go to acceleration. There's no elites here. That's not good. We need elite. Great is good, but honestly, when you're looking for a key starter, you want elite acceleration. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no falling back to greats. You need elite or they're not worth drafting. So for this class, halfbacks, there are none. So let's go ahead and move to fullbacks. Okay, now on fullbacks, this is the lead blocker that makes play action believable. So strength is important as it determines how well he'll win at the point of attack on blocks. Acceleration helps him reach linebackers on wide zones, and then speed helps him get to the hole before the halfback. For the core attributes you're looking for, the impact block controls how well he locks onto defenders. Run block determines the success on wide zone lead blocks. Pass block is critical for play action protection and prevents those free rushers from coming through. And then obviously catching, because they are needed for play action flats and checkdowns. So now we're going to go ahead and start here. We start with strength. Needs to have great strength or they're not worth getting. So we normally wouldn't draft fullbacks anyway, but if you have a perfect fullback, it can be a late round grab or whatever. But as you see here, we have no fullbacks in this draft. So now let's move to wide receiver. So wide receivers are the vertical stressor that forces safeties to back up. So the most important physicals for them is speed, which determines how he can stack the cornerback on deep routes. Acceleration, which controls how fast he gets into his vertical stems. Agility, which helps with smooth route transitions. Change of direction, which helps with their double moves and deep breaks. And then obviously jumping for those contested deep balls. For core attributes, you've got deep route running, which is the separation on go routes, posts, and corners. Specialty catch, which controls success on deep contested catches specifically. Medium route running, which is needed for deep digs and deep outs off of play action. And then short route running helps on slants and quick RPOs. And then obviously catching reduces drops on deep shots. So again, on that, you can go down a grade if needed for agility, change of direction, medium route running, short route running, and catching. Nothing else. So let's go ahead and see what we have for wide receivers in this one. So first thing we're going to do is speed. We want elite speed. So we've got one wide receiver available for this route. So let's see if he makes the rest. So acceleration should be elite. Doesn't have it, he's gone. So let's go to tight ends. Tight ends are your vertical threats, the seam shot weapon that punishes linebackers. So what matters for them is speed, as it determines if he can outrun linebackers up the seam. Acceleration helps him explode off the line on play action plays. Agility helps with smooth breaks on deep crossers, and the strength will help him fight through contact. For his core attributes, you need deep route running because it helps determine separation on seams and deep overs. Medium route running helps more so on like the deep outs and the crossers. The catch in traffic obviously controls catches in traffic, especially on play action seams and shots like that. Catching reduces drops on play action shots. And then obviously impact blocking is needed for run blocking on wide zone plays. And again, I've got stars next to the ones that you can adjust if need be. So let's go ahead and start off with speed. So speed should at least be great. So we got quite a few on this one. So a good start there. So let's go ahead and move over. And then after speed, we need great acceleration. So Oh, let me move over one more. There we go. So gone, 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 gone. And then we're down to, what, 3, 6, down to 7. Now we go to agility. We need at least good. They're all there. So then strength, we want at least decent. But we can go down to marginal if needed. But they all have the ability to be decent or higher. So that's good. So let's go ahead and move to our core attributes. Let's go ahead and sort these and get this situated again. So we've got our 7 up here now. First thing is deep route running. You really want an A. So let's go ahead and go over to deep route running. He's gone. The rest are uncovered and the rest have an option for an A. So next is medium route running. You really want a B. So they're all still there for now. Catch in traffic, you want to preferably want a B or higher, but we can drop to a C if absolutely needed. As of right now, they're all up there regardless. Catching, same thing. B, they're all up there for now. And then impact block, you want at least a C, preferably, but you can do a D if needed. So we are going to leave the D up there for now. So, based off of that, we have some prospects for tight ends for this draft, which is great. They're all rounds 1 to 2 for now, but that's good to know. So now let's go ahead and go to our left tackle. And again on tackles, left tackle will be different. So, I'm not going to do it here, but again, you would do left tackles and right tackles for the same thing. You will need to jot down. But for left tackles, in this scheme specifically, it's slightly different. Because in vertical zone run, you need a pass protector. Now, the one thing a lot of people forget about, this is for your standard right-handed quarterbacks. If you have a left-handed quarterback, you need to flip it and make sure your right tackle is a pass protector, not the left, because it's to protect their blind side. The whole job of the left tackle, the pass protector, is they're the blindside anchor, especially for those long play-action shots. So if you have a left-handed quarterback and you have a left tackle that's a pass protector, not the right, you're playing pointlessly. You're defeating the whole point of the scheme, and you're not running the scheme in its true form. So, as far as the left tackle or right tackle, depending on which hand your quarterback throws with, the most important trait is agility, or physical, is agility, as it controls lateral quickness versus speed rushers. Then acceleration, which helps recover when beaten initially. And then strength, which determines the anchor against bull rushes. And then speed, which helps reach those wide 9 alignments that you'll sometimes have. For core attributes, pass blocking is obviously overall pass protection success. Pass block finesse, which determines success against those specialized finesse rushers. Run block in general, which is needed for those wide zone reach blocks. And then run block finesse, which helps seal the edge, especially on different routes running off of one side or the other of the tackle. And then obviously impact blocks, which helps on combo blocks. So let's go ahead and we're just going to do left tackle for this one. But like I said, you would do both normally. So we'll go to physicals first. And the first physical is agility. They need to have at least great agility or they're not in your scheme. So we've got those for now. Okay. Next is acceleration. Needs to be great. So he's removed, and he's removed. So we're down to 2. So now, the next one after acceleration would be strength. They need to have good strength. Neither of them do, they're gone. Neither would be a good pass protector. So that's it for that. So let's go ahead and move to the interior O-line, which will also include right tackles in this scenario. So we'll go position by position, obviously. So we'll start with left guard. So for the interior O-line, this is the movement engine of the wide zone run game. So the most important physical for them is agility, as that controls reach blocks and lateral movement. And then acceleration, as that helps climb to linebackers quickly, followed by strength, which determines their success on double teams. And then obviously speed, which helps on pulls and screens. The core attributes is run block finesse, determines success on reach blocks. Run block in general, which controls wide zone consistency. Impact block, which helps sustain blocks at the second level. Pass block finesse, which helps versus interior finesse rushers. And then pass block in general, which is needed for play action protection. So again, you've got the stars on the things that can be adjusted. So let's go ahead and start with left guards. And first thing is agility. So we're going to do this, and again, it needs to be great or higher, nothing else. So we've got the 2 on that. Then acceleration needs to be great. Neither is. They're both gone. So we have no left guards. Let's go to center. Again, agility needs to be great or higher. So we got quite a few guards or centers on this one. Oh, that good is not part. Then acceleration needs to be great. So he stays gone, gone, and gone. So now we've made it down to these 3. Then strength needs to be good. So let's go over to strength. He's good. That's not, and that's not. And then speed needs to be decent, which solid, decent. He passes that. Oh, but I was on the wrong one. Sorry, I was reading the wrong line. So let me go back over to speed. And it's still solid, decent. Okay, so it was the right line. All right, so we've got him. So now let's go ahead and go to our core attributes. And run block finesse is first. Needs to be an A. It's a C. That's not one that's that we can adjust. He's off the board. Now we move to right guards. Go right back to physicals. Again, start with agility. We've got those. Acceleration needs to be great. He's gone. We've got 1. Now let's go to strength. Let me make sure I'm on the right line again. I am. So then its strength needs to be good and speed at least decent. Strength is not, so he is off the board. Next is right tackle. So again, we start with agility. And we got quite a few that have great or higher on this one. And then it's acceleration. He stays, gone, 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 gone. So we've got 2 left on that. So now let's go ahead and look at strength. We've got a good, and the speed is good for him. So we have 1 right tackle so far. Let's go ahead and look at the attributes. Again, run block finesse is most important. It's not uncovered yet, so he stays on for now. Run block itself is not uncovered. Impact block is good. Pass block finesse is uncovered, is not uncovered, and then pass block itself is not uncovered. So for now, he's going to stay on the board. And that's all of those positions for now. So again, we're only doing the 1 scheme, so it's not going to look like we have many. However, we have more than what it seems. So let's go ahead and go to favorites. So we've got 8 players on the board for our scheme right now. Again, you can go a grade lower if needed. It just, like I said, I'm trying to guarantee the key things that matters for this scheme. This just happened to be a bad draft class. So sometimes it happens. So then you have to drop it, work on trades, stuff like that. But again, you have 8 here. If you had at least 8 on defense, you'd have 16 players you're looking at. So it all really depends on all your schemes, how things are running, stuff like that. But for now, we're going to leave it like this. We'll go ahead and run these guys. So now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and scout focus player. And I'm going to do the ones that don't have the most unlocked. So they're all 40. So I want to check out this undrafted free agent first. And then let's check out the 1 QB we have. And then the tight end with A awareness. But he's got 80, so let's go ahead and do this one. Let's go ahead and do this guy. So we've got our focus players. Whoop. And now that's it until you get to the week before the draft. So now you just do your normal season stuff, do the playoffs, do your off season, and then I'll see you in the next section. All right, so now we're the week before the draft, so now we can go into our college players, and we can make sure that we are going to look at the ones that we have. So it looks like the right tackle is said to be a projected undrafted free agent, round 1, a top 5 tight end, round 2 to 3, top 5 QB, but we don't really pay attention to any of that. I mean, it helps when you're drafting because you'll know when they're kind of going to be there. But we know for a fact that all 8 of these players, regardless of their projection or talent, as of our check, fit our scheme. So now we're just going to verify it because we got to. So we have a QB. So let's go ahead and go through what the QB stuff was again. For QB, throw power needs to be at least great, which it is. Acceleration needs to be good. Acceleration's elite. Agility, want at least decent preferably. Speed should be at least decent preferably, which it is. So he meets all of that. So let's go to attributes. Let's sort them out again. There we go. And then deep accuracy should be an A. It's a B. Again, that's not one you normally want to drop, but if you're low on players and you know, you have that rare draft where everything's low, you can keep it if need be, although I would highly suggest not to when it comes to deep accuracy, because that's the most important trait or attribute that you need for a vertical zone run scheme. So I'm just going to keep him on the board for now just for drafting purposes for the video, but normally I would remove him. He wouldn't be on my board, but I don't have a defensive side as well, so I'm limited on players right now. But normally I would not keep him. Next, we had, I think it was just a bunch of tight ends and then one right tackle, right? Yep, so a bunch of tight ends. So we'll go ahead. We'll start with their physicals. So for tight ends, what you needed to look for first was speed. Needs to be great or higher. So we'll go to speed. They're all great or higher. Next is acceleration, needs to be great or higher. It's all great or higher. Agility needs to be at least good, which they all are. And then strength can be as low as decent. Or even just level below, but you want at least decent, which they all are. So that's great. So now let's go ahead and look at attributes. Let's go ahead and sort them back out again to get our core attributes here. Okay, so here we go here. And the first core attribute is going to be deep route running. You really want an A, so they have a chance, but this guy doesn't, and this round one doesn't. So I'll remove them. Okay, then after deep route running, you want specialty catch, should be at least a B, or sorry, after deep route running, medium route running should be at least a B, which they all are. And then catch in traffic should be at least a B, which they all are. And then catching should be at least a B, which they all are. And then impact block needs to be at least a C. This is where you'll lose quite a few usually. C to F, C to F, C to F. So as you can see, those are all question marks. So for me, the main tight end I'm going after is going to be Mr. Top 5, Mr. Juan Diaz. So he's pretty much A's across the board. He's 6'6", 239. He's 21. Physicals, great, great, elite, decent, great, great. I mean, he's first in practically everything. And then his skills. Stamina sucks, short route sucks, stiff arm, pass block, and entry's a B. Everything else is an A. So he could very well be a generational type tight end. So that's perfect for us, especially in this draft. So we're going to keep him, obviously, on the board. We'll keep the others as well. Since they meet all the requirements to be there, we might be able to pick up tight end 2 and 3 right here and have our tight end set for the next thing. You know, it is what it is. Sometimes that's how drafts work. And then the final thing was that right tackle that we had. Let's see if they're worth keeping or not. It says they're undrafted, but we don't go by that. So what we do go by was agility needs to be great. So let's go back to physicals, get him up. Agility needs to be great. Agility is great. Acceleration needs to be great, which it is. Strength needs to be good, which it is. Speed needs to be at least decent, which it is. So let's go to core attributes now. So here's the core attributes. And then it's run block finesse. You preferably want an A. It's a C. He would normally be off my board, but I'm going to keep him so I can show you guys different things. So he doesn't meet the main core attribute. Run block should be an A. It's a B. Impact block is a B, which is fine. Pass block finesse is a grade lower, which for depth would be okay. Pass block is 2 grades lower. That would be a red flag. He'd be off the board no matter what, even for depth right there. But I'm going to keep him on board just to show you the differences on what happens if you do get it wrong. And then let's go to wide receiver. Let's go ahead and find a wide receiver that's the closest to being correct, just so I have a wide receiver and a halfback and all that on here, just to show you guys as far as that stuff goes. So for halfbacks, again, the first thing we want to look for is, and again for halfbacks, the first thing you want to look for is acceleration. And really you want elite acceleration, elite agility, and elite change of direction. You really don't want to, sacrifice any of those. But I'm going to drop down 1 grade just to see what happens, so you guys can also see it. So we have great acceleration now, so great. So now let's go to agility. I'm not going to drop below grade on that. So again, they're all eliminated anyways. So even dropping down, they're not there. So yeah, they're supposed to be, round 1 to 2 talents, stuff like that. But are they really? Not for our scheme. So it's not really worth it. So I honestly can't even waste my time with halfbacks at all in this. I mean, even dropping everything 1 letter grade, none of them match it. So they don't even qualify for backups in my scenario. For fullbacks, we can check that. So let's go to strength. So for strength, you want at least great, so we'll keep goods. So we've got 3 goods in there. Then acceleration needs to be good. And yeah, not even close, not close. So we have 1 based off of that. And then speed needs to be at least decent, which it is. So we have 1 fullback that we might be able to look into for like a 7th round or whatever. This fullback, a round 1 talent, supposedly. But yet, carrying is an F. So they're obviously a utility. They don't fit our scheme. They might have been somebody else's scheme, but I would never draft a fullback with a round 1 pick. Day 3, obviously, I might pick him up back then, but he doesn't fit our scheme, so I'm not even worried about it, even if that talent says that. So what I'm looking for, though, is impact block. Impact block is a B. That's 1 lower grade less. Okay. Run block in general is a C. That's 1 grade less. Pass block in general is a D. That's 2 too low. So our fullback's gone. Even dropping down a letter grade, he's not going to be on our board. So now wide receivers. Again, for wide receivers, most important thing is speed. Normally I want to do anything below elite, but you can get by with having great sometimes. Not always, but it can. So we'll go ahead and do elites with great, but I will never do below great no matter what. So we've got that. So acceleration should be at least great or higher. So good is gone. So, and I'm even dropping ones that I would say to never drop, but just so we have something in this video. But like I said, I would stick with what I have starred if you're going to do this. And then after acceleration is agility, needs to be at least great. That one's not. Sorry, not. All right, and then after that, we need change of direction. Should be at least good. Gone, gone, gone. So even drop a letter grade, that gets us down to 3. Jumping should be great. We'll drop to good for this case. He stays, that one doesn't. So we are down to 2. All right, let's go ahead and look at the attributes. Deep route running should be an A. And neither of them are there. So we'll drop 1. He comes off the board. We'll stay with him for now. Specialty catch should be an A, which it is. Medium route running could be a C. See what I mean though? But they don't make it, so he's off the board. So we have no wide receivers that are even worth a depth spot in this draft. So tight ends, we've got plenty. And I'm not going to sit here and do a whole video of this, so let's go ahead and just see what we got, and we'll do with what we have. But you kind of see what I'm saying. I mean, if you absolutely need to, but with you doing both offense and defense, you'll never have this scenario where you don't have anybody like I do right now. You'll have at least, 15, 20 players, which is really all you need. You're only drafting a few. So, and with that, let's go ahead and X out of that. Now we're going to go into scouting private workouts. And we've only got 3 that aren't fully uncovered, so I guess we actually get lucky by only having 6. We'll have exactly what we need for all of them. So let's go ahead and advance to the next week. Now that our focus is done, and we can do our draft. So let's go ahead and scout. Let's see what our favorites look like. And right there, based off of them, these are their projections, this is their talent levels. But they all fit what we need. So, obviously we have a top pick. So, Diaz is our number 1 pick. And then obviously, if we need a backup QB, that would be like 3rd round. So I'd probably do our 2nd tight end in the 2nd round. So I'd probably do 2 tight ends, followed by QB, and then a right tackle, and then another tight end, and then probably trade away the rest of the picks. Unless obviously I had defense for this draft. But that's probably what we're going to do, but I'll just draft whoever's there just to show you guys. So let's go ahead and start the draft. We're probably going to have one of the first picks because I just simmed through, and simming for the Vikings is never good when you fast sim. So, and we do. We have the very first pick. Go figure. So make selection, pick player, and we're going to take Diaz here. So draft player. Is ranked 3 in true value, hidden dev, and A is across the board. So he's going to be phenomenal pickup. So now we've just turned Oliver and Hawkinson into cut/trade candidates. So let's go ahead and skip a draft to the next pick of ours, which is round 2. Let's see if we have anybody left on our board. We do. We don't have the QB. He was picked, but that's fine. We're not going to waste a 1st round pick on him, so that's great. So let's go ahead and do, so based off projection and stuff, these both should have been gone, so we're possibly getting, according to Madden, round 1 talent. They all fit our board, but since they would be gone after this guy, as far as what Madden's talent level says, he will probably still be around another round or 2, so that'd be even a better steal for us. So we're going to go with one of these 2. And we're going to compare them based off of what our stats were and then see which one we should pick. Let me pause this draft real quick before I run out of time. So make your selection, pick player. So let's go ahead, and again, we're sort between these 2 tackles. So we're going to go over physicals first, and let's see who wins out. So first is speed. They're both equal on that. Acceleration is next. They're both equal on that. Then agility. Ross wins out on that. Now, what about deep route running? So that's the other main core thing. So let's check that real quick just to see, because that would be a deal breaker if it wasn't the case. They're both A's, so that's fine. So now that tells you right now that based off of what you're seeing, you're going to want to take the one with the better agility. So we're going to go ahead with Najee Ross. Draft player. 29 in true value, we got him at 33. Another hidden dev with 89 speed. And let's go ahead and skip to our next pick. Let's go make a selection and see who we got left still, if anybody. We've got another tight end. Another round 1, he got passed. That's fine. We have all 3 of our tight ends that we need for the future, and some are going to be trade candidates and stuff down the road. So 42, we picked him at 65. Not a hidden dev, so that's fine. And let's skip right to round 4. So make selection. Let's see if our right tackle is still there. He is. We'll go ahead and pick him up. The one I said, and as you see, he's hidden dev. So I kept him based off the basis. I normally wouldn't, but this is what I'm talking about. You never know, but if you follow the stuff to the T, you're going to find those steals and hidden things down the road. Obviously, he's the developmental piece, so not a big deal, but that's all we have, so we're just going to advance. We'll let them pick the last player or whatever. And like I said, if we had defense, it'd be a whole different ballgame on that. But just wanted to kind of give you guys an example of things. So let's go ahead and check out our recap. So Diaz, 80 overall, 75, 74. And then they picked a bunch of, whatever. Our tackle was a 64 hidden dev. So 3 of our 4 picks were hidden dev except for him. And it is what it is. So there we go with that. And with that, that wraps up the Vertical Zone Run Masterclass Guide. If this system helped you understand the scheme, build your draft board, or just made your franchise feel more alive and intentional, do me a favor before you head out. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next masterclass. Like this video if you learned something today from this guide, and hit that notification bell so you hear the moment that next guide drops. Then don't forget to drop a comment below and tell me which scheme, team, or system you want broken down next. I do read every single one, and your ideas do help shape the future of this series and this channel. And if you want to go even deeper, the channel memberships and Patreon are launching soon. You're going to be able to get access to full scouting sheets, draft board templates, scheme-specific rebuild blueprints, private sliders and gameplay tuning, behind-the-scene breakdowns, and other exclusive members-only franchise content. So if you want to support the channel and get the tools I use behind the scenes, keep an eye out. Those tiers are right around the corner. And as always, thanks for watching, thanks for being part of this community, and as always, this is Night Knight signing off. See you in the next video.